know the vibes. Welcome back to another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast brought to you by NBA 2K24. It is myself, Momutsi, alongside me as always, three-time NBA champion, Mr. BJ Armstrong. BJ, what a night of basketball we just saw.
Woo, what a beautiful night of basketball. We have a lot to discuss, my friend. We have a lot to
We
discuss.
do indeed. Over in the Eastern Conference, the second round series before the Pacers and the Knicks got underway, the game was going back and forth. It went right down to the wire, and the New York Knicks took game one at home, 121 to 117. Jalen Brunson's streak of 40-point games continued, still only matching Michael Jordan in that regard. He had 43 tonight on just, BJ, you'll be happy, less than 30 shots. He only took 26 tonight, which is a low by his recent standards. But he was helped by Josh Hart, who had 24 points, 13 rebounds, 4 of which were on the offensive glass, and Dante DiVincenzo.
Wait a minute. The most important stat, he played all 48 minutes.
Indeed, he did. Indeed, he did. And Dante DiVincenzo chipped in with 25 points. After all these years of everyone saying the Knicks need to go out and get a superstar, the Knicks need to go and get the number one pick in a draft, who knew they just needed three friends who played college basketball together to come and win games in the NBA playoffs? Because these three guys stepped up in a crazy way. The rest of the team got involved. OG was in double digits. Isaiah Hartenstein in double digits as well. They didn't really get much off their bench, but it's hard to get a lot off your bench when the bench doesn't play many minutes. Over for the Pacers, though, Miles Turner led the way with 23 points. Only 2 rebounds from your starting center, which is a little bit of a worry. They got great bench production, though. Obi Toppin had a 12-point performance. TJ McConnell with a huge 18 points off the bench. Isaiah Jackson, he was impactful, bringing the energy into this game. And Ben Shepherd, they each had 8 points apiece. Neesmith had 12. Siakam had 19. And Tyrese Halliburton, 6 points on just six shots, which is another area for concern. If that's the superstar of your franchise, you want him to be a little bit more aggressive than that. BJ, what stood out to you in this one, aside from the controversial calls, which I'm sure we'll discuss?
Yeah, I'm gonna turn the controversial calls over to you. Yeah, I'm gonna let you handle that. You know, what stood out to me was the game plan of the Pacers. They were picking up full court. They were pushing the pace. I thought they had an excellent game plan. But when it came down to the fourth quarter, the Knicks, that's the Knicks brand and style of basketball. And I thought that was the difference in the game. Once again, Jalen Brunson was just simply, he was just amazing. I mean, when you watch him, he just figures it out. I don't, he's a fascinating player to watch. When you look at the distribution of minutes for the Knicks. Yeah, I mean,
I get tired looking at this.
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
know how these guys are playing.
4 out of their 5 starters, right, played over 40 minutes, and then one guy plays 36.
And that's only because he was in foul trouble.
Yes. I mean, this is unbelievable. I mean, I just don't know how they're going to sustain this.
Do you think they will sustain this for this round at least?
Listen. I mean, I don't know what those guys must feel like. I have no idea. I'm just thinking at any given moment, the Knicks players are just going to they're just going to collapse of just exhaustion. I mean, Josh Hart was great. 24 points, 13 rebounds, 8 assists, but 48 minutes? I mean, come on. I mean, you just can't do that. I mean, Brunson, 43 minutes. DiVincenzo, 43 minutes. Anunoby, 42 minutes.
Anunoby, yeah.
Anunoby, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work, but give the Knicks credit, 121 points. And I got a nice win at home, to really figure out how to win game one. It was a tough game. And the Pacers, the Pacers played well right down to the end. And now I'm going to turn it over to you for your call. Let's go with the controversial call.
The controversial foul calls in this game. That's what we're saying. The fans watching this game, aside from the Knicks fans, were absolutely outraged with the way this game was officiated. In particular, down the stretch, a lot of those calls. And I think the thing that fans of the NBA want most is just some level of consistency in the calls that are displayed. We saw this in the Denver game. In the last one, Anthony Edwards got a technical for looking at someone. In this one, Mike Malone shouted in a ref's face and did not get a technical for it. And if you look at the Knicks game, it went right down to the wire, and the controversial call was the moving screen set by Miles Turner. Now, whether you think that should have been called or not, if we're going to start calling those, why are we waiting until the final possessions of a crucial playoff game to start calling those? Because for years now, I've watched Draymond Green run wild setting screens that don't even look like screens. But now is when you decide to start calling them. And if you go through the game and rewatch it, a lot of the screens that are set in any NBA game can be considered moving screens, but guys don't have their feet set or they lean into a player trying to go around the screen. So I just think the fans deserve and are crying out for some level of consistency with the officiating, in particular in the NBA playoffs.
You sound like an NBA coach. You sound like an NBA coach.
If I was the coach of the Pacers, I would probably be getting ready to call my accountant and pay a 200 grand fine that's coming in the morning.
He did, Mo. I think as we're talking right now, we should listen to the press conference of Coach Malone. I think he's just going to go. I just want to hear what he's going to say after the game. I didn't listen to it, but I heard Rick Carlisle. I heard Coach Carlisle had a few choice words about the officiating.
And so he should. And so he should.
I didn't see it, but I heard he did. And I'm sure Coach Malone is going to, I think he's going to probably have some exciting things, interesting things to say after this game.
Well, I think it's very tough. And now, especially with the review thing, because the other thing that couldn't be reviewed was a kickball violation in the Knicks game. And kickballs, I don't believe, can be reviewed. It can only be out of bounds, fouls, and I can't remember what the third criteria is to meet a review. But I don't understand why they can't be reviewed because it's such a crucial time in the game. Yeah, I mean, it's a sad story when the officiating is the story of the game, in particular in a close one down the stretch. It's not ideal for anyone. We want to watch basketball, we want to let them play. That's what the playoffs is all about. Let them play. So we'll see how the next game is reffed, because in the second game of the night, the Denver Nuggets and the Minnesota Timberwolves game 2, there was a noticeable shift in the officiating from the game 1 of that series.
What were you going to say? I'm going to give credit. I wish I would have came up with this first, but I'm going to give this credit. I love the new nickname of the Minnesota Timberwolves,
which is
Maximum Security. That was shout out to our good friend Jamal Crawford.
Absolutely. He had some bars on the broadcast tonight. He said Reggie Jackson looked like he was proposing when he got crossed over on one knee.
That was pretty funny.
Jamal's the best with it, man. Jamal's the best with it.
I'm telling you, defensively, Mo, that first half got me so excited.
Mm-hmm.
They were simply sensational. I mean, they were flying around out there on the court. They were rotating. They contested every shot. Their hands were active. Their feet were active. And they knew the assignment. They know the game plan. They know what they're doing. And defensively, I saw what Denver was trying to do against Anthony Edwards. Okay. Check.
Which was?
But offensively, well, they were very aware. They weren't allowing him to get in isolation tonight. They just double teamed him. And to his credit, he found people, right? He did what he had to do. As far
7 assists on the evening to go along with 27 points.
Yeah, and Karl-Anthony Towns, Nikhil, Alexander Walker, and Naz Reid. What a pickup. What a player.
You know, BJ, when we talk about these games, I usually go through the box score and I read out the points that people scored. I want to read this out to you. Jaden McDaniels, 2 steals, 1 block. Kyle Anderson, 2 steals, 1 block. Karl-Anthony Towns, 1 steal, 2 blocks. Anthony Edwards, 2 steals. Mike Conley, 2 steals, 1 block. Nikhil Alexander-Walker, 3 blocks. Naz Reid, 1 steal, 4 blocks. Monte Morris got a steal as well. How's that? It doesn't matter. If you do that, it doesn't matter what you do on the other end, because that is a locked in defense.
Yeah.
I'll tell you guys, BJ called me at halftime of this game. He said, Mo, I've been running around since 6 a.m. I ain't had a chance to eat today. I'm starving. I said, there's only one thing in the world hungrier than BJ right now, and that's this Timberwolves defense because
Yeah,
they were harassing Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray, by the way, if you guys didn't watch the game, the Minnesota Timberwolves went into Denver for stole home court advantage completely and demolished the Denver Nuggets 106-80 points. It was an absolute masterclass without Rudy Gobert even being on the court because congratulations to Rudy. He was being present for the birth of his child. The biggest lead was actually 32 points, which is insane in an NBA playoff game against the defending champions. Okay. For the Denver Nuggets, Jamal Murray finished with 8 points on 3 of 18 shooting. Michael Porter Jr., 9 points on 4 of 12 shooting. Nikola Jokic had 4 turnovers in the first half. I don't think I've ever seen him do that before, right? He finished with 16, 16, and 8. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, 4 points on 2 of 6 shooting. Aaron Gordon had a big night, but I guess you're just going to have to live with that without Rudy Gobert being there. And off their bench, they did get double-digit scoring from Justin Holiday, 13 points, but they didn't get much else. Reggie Jackson left with a little injury as well, so we'll see how he's looking ahead of the next one. But the defense of this Timberwolves team, to go into Denver, the home of the reigning champions, and we know in NBA history, anytime a home team loses game 1, they always bounce back in game 2. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but the point differential on those games is staggering, right? They went into game 2 without their best defender and destroyed the reigning champions to take a 2-0 lead. And I asked you in the last episode, I was like, do you think if they win game 2, Denver will get swept? And you were like, no, Denver will figure something out. But after watching that game, I don't see a way that Denver can figure anything out because they looked almost to me demoralized because there was nothing they can do if the Timberwolves are allowed to play with this level of physicality in their defense. Unbelievable.
It is. I don't think there are any words. I don't think anyone, certainly I did not anticipate this or expect a 26-point victory in a game 2, which is a must win for the Denver Nuggets. Now, it's a clear advantage now. They won game 1. Okay. Rudy Gobert, perhaps the defensive player of the year, is not playing. And then you say they're going to win by 26 in game 2. No, I'm not buying that one. Well, they did it. I mean, Mo, they were up 30 points. This team, I just loved how they played in the first half. And they're so effective, but they don't have to score to make these types of contributions to the game. It was great to watch. The Denver Nuggets look confused right now. They were complaining. They weren't playing their brand of basketball. Now, this is 8 quarters now, okay? Everyone's capable of having an off game. We clearly, Jokic wasn't Jokic in game 1. But now you're looking at it and you're going, what's happening here? I mean, Mo, it's a problem.
Well, so here's the thing. When they played in the playoffs last year, Denver won 4-1. Jamal Murray, I think he had a 40-piece, he had a 35-piece, he had another game where he led the Nuggets in scoring. The Timberwolves have seen Jamal Murray's been kind of out of shape all season long. Now he's got this calf issue. And we're going to absolutely harass him anytime he has the basketball because the Denver Nuggets, with all of their offense being blown up by the Timberwolves defense, they started going to a lot of isolation stuff. But their best isolation player in terms of playing one-on-one with the defender, aside from Jokic in the post, Jamal Murray isn't able to do anything at all because he's being hounded by Ant-Man, by Jaden McDaniels. And then when those guys go to the bench to get rest, Nickeil Alexander-Walker's right there. And I see him smiling while he's guarding Jamal Murray. And that's when you know someone's locked in because he's just smiling while clamping him up on the court.
Yeah, I mean, it was beautiful to watch. It was simply incredible. But the work's not done. Now it's important for them to not let up, go home. They're going to have, in front of their home crowd. Their home crowd will be, I mean, it's going to be wild up there in Minnesota.
Well, Ant was getting MVP chance in Denver.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be crazy. But, like I said, it's important for them now to say, hey, we took care of our business. I mean, literally, they took care of their business. And now they have a chance to go there and really, really do something fantastic. And think of this. I mean, whoever would have said before the series started that the Denver Nuggets, after 2 games, would be down 0-2. I mean,
No one. You would
no
assume
one would have
Jokic
said
should
it.
have been out for both those games, but here we are.
Yes,
And
here
if they play like this, I don't think anyone's stopping the Timberwolves in the whole playoffs.
I said this. I made a call, to the old guy network, right? The old guy, the old NBA guy networks, right? The old guys who were all on our lawn, and we all said the same thing. If they play like this, they can win the whole thing. Talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves. Well, for one half, that was as good of a half of basketball that I've seen this year. They were terrific. And if they're playing like this, minus Rudy Gobert, I might add, minus Rudy Gobert, well, this team can, I mean, I don't see anyone that can match that level of intensity and athleticism. And I haven't seen anyone do it all year.
If you really want to get really ahead of yourselves, exciting news for the neutral NBA fans. Both games between the Celtics and the Timberwolves went to overtime this season.
Oh, wow.
That could be pretty fun. But let's not get ahead of ourselves because the Celtics have to handle business tonight in game 1 between the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers as the Eastern Conference second round continues. What are you looking at in this series? What's your prediction for it, first and foremost?
I'm going to go Celtics. I think this could
In
go.
how many?
I'm going to go. I think this could go 7. I think this is probably going to go 7. And reason being, I don't know the impact of a team like the Celtics minus Porzingis. I just don't. I don't know. And Evan Mobley. I've always been an Evan Mobley fan.
We know.
I don't know. Yes, but Jared
Allen.
Jared Allen. Why do I say Jared Jackson? Jared Allen. I don't know what's his status. Right? Is he coming back? Is he out for a little bit, or what's going on there?
Let's have a look. Jared Allen is iffy for game 1. Reads the headline. He'll be a game time decision. He's currently questionable with his rib injury.
Okay.
But,
I just think
we'll
I think this is gonna go 7. I want to. Cleveland got a scare. Hopefully they've learned their lesson that the series is never over. I think they have some things. I think up front, their front court I think could do some things. Clearly, Tatum and Brown are going to do their thing, but I think Donovan Mitchell will he will offset some of that, and we'll see how it plays out. But I think the Celtics is 7.
Yeah, the Celtics Cavs matchup in the regular season. Do you remember that last one that went right down to the wire? With if you remember the last one, it was Dean Wade who had the game of his life in that fourth quarter where he outscored the entire Celtics team by himself on the way to winning that one. I don't know if we'll expect that to happen again. I do know the Celtics love to make life difficult for themselves, so I can see them dropping at least 2 games in this series. But if they do come through and win in 4, I'll finally start maybe taking them seriously. But yeah, I think 6 or 7 games. I just have nightmares about Karis LeVert absolutely torching the Celtics when they played once because he seems to just up his game against us. He had, what did he have? 41 points last season or the season before? He had a 41 point and then he had a 51 point performance against Celtics when he was on Brooklyn. For some reason, matchup nightmare for Boston. But without Porzingis, I think that they should look to close this series out as soon as possible to get Al Horford some rest in his legs if they're going to be without Porzingis for the conference finals.
Right.
So they don't want to play with their food, as we like to say on this show. But the Cleveland Cavaliers, you've got to give them credit. They won a tough game 7 where they were down big. Donovan Mitchell, he's good friends with a lot of guys on the Celtics roster. And it's going to be interesting. Who do you think wins game 1?
I'm going with the Celtics. I think they're going to probably stay on serve here. It's possible. Your Celtics, they like to make it tough. So, they'll win big in game 1, turn around, probably lose game 2.
Just like in the last series.
Yeah, make it interesting. They'll probably lose game 3, 2-2, then they'll win 4 or 5 and close it out.
We'll see. Hopefully,
we'll see.
It's less stressful. But the other series that begins tomorrow is the Western Conference semifinal between the Dallas Mavericks and the OKC Thunder. BJ, What are your thoughts on this one? Because this is probably the hardest one to call.
I think this is going to be very, very tough. But what I am very excited about is all of our guards in this year's draft. This is going to be our series.
Mm.
I've taken every rookie or prospect. If you are a guard, 6'8" and below, I want you to watch this series because you're going to see on one side of the ball, you're going to see, Shea Alexander and Jaden Williams. And then on the other side, you're going to see Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. It doesn't get any better than this, okay? This is going to be a fabulous series from a guard's perspective, but I think the deciding factor is going to be up front. Now, Chet is terrific, but this is a first for Chet, right? I mean, round one, he showed up, I thought he played exceptionally well against Valanciunas, and I thought Valanciunas had a significant advantage. But the bigs of the Dallas Mavericks, I think, is going to provide a new test for him because they're athletic, they're quick, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how small ball, because that's what OKC plays, how that's going to work versus the small ball lineup of the Dallas Mavericks. I would argue that with Luka and Kyrie, it's as good or if not better. Okay.
Yeah.
It's going to put it like this. They're very close.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm going to pick Denver. I'm going to pick Dallas to win this series.
I'm intrigued with how they match up though,
yes.
because who's guarding Shea? You're going to have to put Derek Jones Jr. on him. And then who's guarding Jalen Williams? You're going to put PJ Washington on him. Where are you going to put Kyrie and Luka? Who are they going to match up with? Because Gafford and Chet will obviously be matched up together.
So you got Lou Dort and Giddey. So I think that's
I don't
solid.
think that's bad until are they going to be able to go through those screens and make sure they stay connected to their man? Or are they going to have to come up with something else?
Giddey,
because we saw against the Pelicans, the Pelicans put Herb Jones on Shea, and Shea found a way to get Herb off from guarding him. He found a way, even if it wasn't a direct screen roll, when he had the ball in his hands, off the ball, he was great at getting himself open and getting the defender switched. And I want to know what the Dallas Mavericks can do to counteract that. Because even if they do put their best defenders on him, he could find a way to manipulate that and make sure it's Luka or Kyrie guarding him. And the biggest problem with that is getting them into foul trouble, which we saw them have a problem with in the Clippers series. And then the whole game plan is thrown off for the Mavericks.
Well, with the exception of Shea, and I guess, Jaden, is it Jalen or Jaden?
It's Jalen.
Jalen.
There's two Jalen Williams on this OKC team.
Yeah, and Jalen. I'm not sure that they can play the style that we saw versus the Clippers and just try to create mismatches. And I'm not a fan of that style of just playing isolation basketball. So the big thing that I want to see from this OKC Thunder team, I think if they're going to win the series, is defensively they're going to have to be able to contain Luka, not stop him, contain, and don't let neither one of those guys explode. Mm-hmm. Okay. If they can do that and take away the easy buckets when those guys do penetrate to the basket, because you say Lob City, I mean, it was one game. I think they had like 10 dunks in the first half versus the Clippers.
Yep.
So I think that is going to be the challenge for this team because Luka and Kyrie in particular, those two, they have confidence now in the others. Mm-hmm. They have confidence. Now, those guys they're shooting the ball from three with confidence, and their lob threat at the basket is as good as any right now. So I think it's going to provide some challenges. I think it's going to be some ebbs and flows of the game. But I think OKC has the ability to do it because, I mean, Chet will be the tallest guy on the floor. However, it's going to provide some challenges because you got to play some help defense. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a little cat mouse. We'll see how it plays out. I think Dallas, with their experience, probably wins out in this series. But OKC, listen, they're the number one seed for a reason. They have an exceptional player, and they are very capable. But I'm going to say Dallas, just because of the experience, in particular Kyrie Irving's experience, I think probably wins out in this series.
Yeah, Dallas without Maxi Kleber, who's out indefinitely with a separated shoulder. He was great
Oh,
coming off the
that's gonna
bench. He
hurt.
can
That's
shoot the
gonna
ball. He
hurt.
can play a little defense, and that is a knock to kind of the
Spread the
versatility of
floor.
some of the lineups that
Yes.
you could have put out there, right? So that's a loss for Dallas. I'm kind of leaning to OKC in this one, just
I
because I
understand that.
know the injury Luka's playing with. I don't know if this was the regular
Yeah,
season,
what
he
does
might
he
be
have
having a
going? What
month
is
off.
he? Yeah.
He's just got a whole bunch. He's just banged up from going through the season. He's got something going on with his knee and his calf on the thing on his right leg. I don't know how well that's going to hold up. He's just like forcing himself to play through the playoffs, which you have to do. But OKC, they've got the youth, and maybe having less experience can be somewhat of an advantage because, like we said before, they're playing with house money because no one's expecting them
Yes.
to be a conference finals team. Well, I know they're expecting themselves to. They're the
How
number one
about
seed.
that you're a number one seed and you're like, you're
Uh-huh.
playing with house money.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That's a heck of a position to be in. So,
I like
you know,
OKC for this series, but you can never count out Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. But who you got winning game
yes,
one?
I want to say OKC.
At
I
home,
want to say
those fans
OKC
go crazy in
at home.
OKC.
I think they're well rested. Like you said, Dallas looks to be a little banged up. You never know with Luka. You never know, but I expect OKC to come out. And now, this is their second time now starting a series. So I think they understand how that fill out game is important. I expect them to come out and play. But after that, I think Dallas will make the adjustments like they always do. That's not a tough travel for this trip for them going from Dallas to OKC. So I expect this Dallas team to maybe come out and try to get one in game one, but I just think OKC will be ready.
Yeah.
I think they will be anticipating, and I think they should prevail in game one.
Who have you got winning this series and in how many games?
I'm gonna say Dallas in 6.
I'm going to hedge my bets and say OKC.
Okay, yeah, I say Dallas in 6. Well, one of us is going to be right.
There we go. That's why I wanted to hedge my bets.
Yes, one of us is going to be right.
But it should be a good one. I'm really excited for that series. Hopefully
Yeah,
it's
I think so.
hopefully it's close and drama filled because the Denver Nuggets are letting us down, and hopefully the Celtics can destroy the Cavaliers, and that's not close, and we don't need to worry about that. So at least we then get one in each conference, which is a good battle to watch. But I'm excited for it, BJ. I'm really
Yeah,
excited for it. So appreciate you for another night of basketball talk, and thank you to everyone who
appreciate
tunes
you.
in. Make sure you subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts from. And we'll be back tomorrow breaking down all of the action from around the world of the NBA. Make sure you do not miss a single episode here of the Hoop Genius podcast. And until next time, get buckets.